influence, I'm a bad boy. When I got to the cash, ain't got in my bag, boy. Please don't think it's sweet, I stay with the heat even though I'm a sad boy. You better watch the way you breathe around me for that breath be your last, boy. I've been drinking red, boy. I been chopping down these birds, McCoy. No, I bet my rich $1 million overseas, kind of skin.
Hello, I am back again. Trying to do this back to back. I told you, I'm trying to keep promises. I'm doing it right now. You're welcome. Before I get into this, I do want to answer a certain question that someone put in the comments. This person may definitely be new. I don't have anything against it. It's asking why is Deku already summoning Mahoraga? Because my stories are based on having a little bit of like fun and having main characters just be OP as fuck. Asking that question means you're definitely new to the channel, so welcome. And if you're watching this and you're new, welcome. But my stories are just me goofing around. Like, I make all my characters OP because it's fun to write. Then I do character development and stakes later down the story. So why can Deku already summon Mahoraga? Because first off, in the stakes of the world, it makes sense. I use quirks as a kind of prerequisite for Deku's curse technique, which isn't really a quirk at all. It's a mutation, which I've already revealed. If you haven't seen that part, go back and watch it. It's in the I'm pretty sure it's on the third part named Freak. Very self-explanatory. But yeah, Izuku's powers in this universe are just a mutation different from quirks, because now that we know how quirks came to be, in that they are technically a virus which was contracted by a hooker, I can do whatever I want with the concept now, because that means there are many different variables for it. So that, and added on to like One For All being in the system, One For All is described as a damn near endless source of energy. If that powers his cursed energy, he would have way more than enough power to not only summon Mahoraga, but defeat it in one blow, considering it wouldn't have time to adapt to a punch that can take out an entire city if it just hit him out of nowhere. Like, y'all also not factoring sneak attacks, because this version of Deku is like, he's just straight hands. He doesn't do the shit that Megumi does, where he like makes his moves very obvious sometimes. You get the point. I really just like having OP main characters, but at least I make it make sense. So I hope you will enjoy this part. It's gonna be fun. Let's go.
一つの新たな個性になっていたんだ。そのベースになった因子、つて雄英高校で君たちと苦楽を共にし、
かつて俺たちは共にヒーローを目指してた。
That's really him. That's Aizawa. He takes his seat beside President Mike. All that separates them from Kurogiri is a glass mirror. This was their long-lost best friend when they were training to be heroes. He was thought to be dead. Oboro Shirakumo. Speaking to them through speakers, the leading officer says that they shouldn't try to do too much, but try to get out as much info as they can. If not possible, we can contact his parents. Aizawa's eyes redden. No parent should have to see this. Upon Aizawa's eyes taking effect, the asleep Nomu begins to wake up. What a rare sight. My first visitors. There's no way this chump's really him. You see, I mean, look at him, shouts President Mike. Where's Tomura Shigaraki? Asked Kurogiri. You're curious about Shigaraki? I am his aide. Tending to him is my mission. Having to wipe that shitty brat's ass all the time? Screw that, shouts President Mike. I never hated a single moment, as I am the type who cannot abandon others. Having to wipe that shitty brat's ass all the time? Screw that, shouts President Mike. I never hated a single moment, as I am the type who cannot abandon others. Gran Torino. Yeah. Call Midoriya. Are you sure about that? He can do it. I have great students. Just, I can't do this. I wanted us to become heroes together. It seems you're confused, says Kurogiri. Damn it, call him! Now! Quickly, the police gets in contact with All Might, and after changing in the locker rooms, Midoriya is taken to where all this is taking place. He enters with his mentor following him behind into the very cell Kurogiri resides. Aizawa and President Mike from the other side wait in anticipation as Deku will look at him, and I can do it. Really? Asked Aizawa. I don't like giving false hope, Sensei. Furube, Yura Yura, Yatsuka no Tsurugi, Ikashinsho, Makora. The sound of a howling and croaking is heard as the room turns pitch black whilst the divine hounds rise, as does every other Shikigami. How is he? That room is the side of a shed, damn near. It's like he's warping reality. All Might, who has 1 foot into the room, steps back befuddled, almost scared actually, but most scared of this all is Kurogiri, who begins to rattle and panic as Gran Torino says that his vitals are spiking. That is until he screams, drowning the room with his mist, and suddenly he awakes, gasping as he falls on the floor. The creature noticed that it no longer had clothes, but there was just this mist surrounding him. Where am I? He begins to then see these particles and looks down at his leg, and then suddenly he's in a hallway. Doors line up along it, and on the right side, one of them opens up. What it shows is a memory. I saved that cat. That's me. Shota Yamada. As Kurogiri turns, facing down that hall, he suddenly has the face of Shirakumo and leaves this vision, now seeing this hand blinding him, and the heaving of Midoriya echoes throughout the room. Suddenly he is himself once again, in a new space. He's wearing a straitjacket. To him, this is all completely bizarre, as Kurogiri is practically a different personality, and he was at the back, just alone and blocked. Midoriya's hand would pull back. You need to... Young Midoriya! Izuku collapses to the floor as All Might runs to him asking if he's okay, and Gran Torino and his teachers also run in. I'm okay. I'm healing. Shirakumo, your name is Oboro Shirakumo. He forces himself to stand and grabs him by the collar. And you are human. You hear me? Human! How long has it been? It's not that anyone didn't know what to say or didn't want to say anything. They just couldn't. This act of bringing back someone like Kurogiri from the brink, it was nothing short of a miracle. Thanks, Mahoraga. The summon says it's a pleasure, while it looks down on all the previous users who were left gassed out on the floor as they pitched in as well to help out. We are now currently in the shrine, by the way. And he says, you scrubs did well. It's the best compliment we're never gonna get, says Banjo. We'll take it. Oh, that hurts. March 25th, Jaku City, General Hospital, Deku City, Mountain. These are the two places that heroes would begin to assault. And this is the first time the heroes would actually assault the villains at, like, they have a plan to attack them first. And the moment Endeavor and company enter Jaku Hospital, it causes quite an uproar. Luckily, Mandalay with her telepathy was able to calm them, and a mole they planted working as a nurse asked them to follow him. The man also takes notice of something weird about Endeavor's shadow. It's moving. Outside this hospital, the students are trying to evacuate people, as now it has been reported by Miruko that there are tons of Nomus underground and they don't want another hood situation, if you know what I'm talking about. The Deku Mountain, meanwhile, holds the stronghold of the Meta Liberation Army, which is also attacked, but the opposing army responds right away. About 20 solid minutes pass and all events occur as normal. However, that's when Deku stops mid-crosswalk while escorting an old woman. His comms alert him of President Mike, who shouts, "Do it now!" As he clasps his hands together, Midoriya's cursed energy explodes from his body and reaches to the skies. Ryoik Tenkai Kanko Anyete. All heroes and students notice the signal and would grab their noses, shutting it, while telling those that they're taking care of to do the same. And the moment they all do, every person, and I mean every single person, would drop into this darkness. And that's when it happens. Shigaraki lets off a wave of destruction so incomprehensible and so unstoppable that it damn near crumbles all of Jaku, and his quirk decays everything until it finally stops. What is this? What's going on? Where are we? Now safely away and in the mountains nearby, the civilians would panic as they now saw their city was destroyed, and the heroes did their best to calm them, but they also noticed Deku wasn't here, and they began to panic. That idiot Deku! He's still in the city, shouts Dynamite. He blasts off as Endeavor, who calls him on the comm, says, Midoriya, answer me. Kid! Midoriya! That's Deku, sir. Not when we're on the job, please. Before Deku was this line that separated him from all the destroyed remains of Jaku, and he dropped to his knees, finding it hard to even stand. I see him, Endeavor. Tomura Shigaraki. Through Deku's eyes, we see that far, far away, in the middle of all this destruction, remains a piece of land atop which Shigaraki had awoken on. After all the trouble the doc went through. Sweet, I guess I can choose what to decay now. He notices a nearby phone. Actually, it's Ujiko's, and he taps into Gigantomachia's receiver. The plan was supposed to start when I woke up, right? Come to me, Gigantomachia, and bring the others. This is when we destroy it all. Not today! Quickly, he looks up, seeing Endeavor, and yet it's like he was even there, like he didn't notice him at all. This voice in his head kept shouting, one for all, one for all, one for all. Hellfire curtain! A wave of fire is wrapped around the pillar Shigaraki stands on and burns through his flesh, while Endeavor boosts his speed and comes crashing down like a comet with a punch. Before he noticed, however, Shigaraki leapt his way, aiming for his face, and he barely ducked. But no normal human can. He's regenerating. Using his fire, he gets behind him to strike down, while he alerts all other heroes to build a perimeter because he has begun to engage. However, through their private frequency in the comms, Deku speaks and asks Endeavor permission to enter battle. No, you're no good to us weak. I might be weak right now, but I'm not useless. And he's looking for me. It's better to keep him there than have him come over here. Coming for you. Ah! He takes a shockwave to the face just then from Shigaraki, who is healing from Endeavor's blast. Why don't I feel satisfied, even after all that torture? Little brother. With a turn, his legs bulge and he leaps in the direction of Deku. Deku is heading towards them, honestly, and he's ready to fight. He doesn't care. Katsuki joins him quickly, saying that he's not missing out. He's heading southwest, shouts Endeavor. While saying this, he chases Shigaraki. The villain notices how annoying those devices are to his plan, so holding his hand down, he fires a pulse of electromagnetic energy and expands its range with the air blast. Sorry, number one. You'll have to wait your turn. This air blast also propels him forward, and he would reach the remains of whatever is of the city. By this point, the comms are completely destroyed. There, however, he sees Dynamite and Deku. Izuku Midoriya, just hand it over. This feeling of death grabs a hold of and tugs the heart of Dynamite, who cannot even move. He's frozen in fear. In an instant, Shigaraki is knocked back, however, as Deku shouts, "Get it together!" Shut up! He just... Screw you! How are you holding up? I'm at 20%, but that's all I need. In a flash, he moves with the footwork of a boxer and throws a hook. Shigaraki, while still in the air, reaches to grab his arm, but Deku pulls back and takes to the sky with a backflip before slamming a kick into his head. As he crashes into the floor, he himself is then struck by an air blast, throwing him into the air as Shigaraki leaps after him, but Dynamite blows by, striking him. However, while facing away from the villain, he's grabbed by his costume and turns his head, seeing Shigaraki, who is then knocked down by a blast of flames. He barely escaped death just then. He lands cratering into the ground and yet shakes not even a little. Deku lands far off and falls to one knee. No! That's enough, kid. Deku looks back and the hand of Aizawa would rest on his shoulder. Beside him is Manuel supplying water to keep his eyes open, and Gran Torino, who says that he has to calm down. Leave this to the adults for once. You okay? While Ryukyu flies in and battles Shigaraki with Endeavor and Dynamite, Deku fills him in on his condition. Currently, Deku cannot use any of his special moves, and just summoning a Shigaraki, that's wild, a Shikigami, my bad, would strain him immensely. By the way, if I have to clear this up because people are definitely going to ask me about it. The reason why people couldn't breathe when they submerged down into the shadows and were teleported was because he made a binding vow to take away that safety and comfort in exchange for every single person there being able to be taken away. So, big risk, big reward. Alright, continue. Gran Torino then says, what about, they're also recharging. He refers to the previous users who can help out now, as that's how One For All works, but currently they can't interact and help that way because they also put a lot of their energy into that, as shown before. But yeah, honestly, they're not blaming him. Well, you can be proud, Deku. It's Deku, right? Says Manuel. Thanks to you, no one died. An entire city because of you. You have nothing to be ashamed of. I know, I just wish. The bellows of a man-made monstrosity known as Nomus would alert everyone as they escape from the underground by Shigaraki's command. Since he himself has weakened, as has Deku, he's not only physically weak, but he couldn't even use many of his other quirks he had in store. Luckily, he had the Nomus, but luckily the other heroes who secured the perimeter would flood the battlefield as well, and this truly starts the fight. The ensuing fight between Dynamite, Endeavor, and Ryukyu ends with Shigaraki quite literally atop the #1 hero before stomping him, making him spew blood, and then raising his arm. Even though he was weakened, to him, these people are like ants. Is this how All Might did it? Whatever. You're not doing so good. Endeavor takes notice of Ryukyu's condition and Dynamite's as well. They're trying to recover and rejoin, so for now, get off! He fires another blast of fire, but Shigaraki moves so fast, he left behind a blur and appears a few feet away. And though he doesn't have his quirks, he can still spot Aizawa, who is trying to hide with Manuel's help and keeping his quirks at bay as well. That and the fact that he's weakened is really not helping him right now. He chases him down like a rabid animal. Right now, he's the determining factor of his success in this whole matter. However, Gran Torino and Deku move, striking him in the chest. Die. Dynamite drops from the sky while propelled by an explosion and knocks him to the floor right as Deku's shoulder checks him so hard he tumbles for meters on end. Quickly though, bursting with cursed energy, Deku moves across the field, and upon catching up, he strikes. Don't touch my teacher! His punch lands clean in his jaw as Midoriya proceeds to drag him through the floor with this exploding lightning radiating from his fist until he throws him into a pile of rubble. What was that? He thinks to himself. The hell was that? Asks Dynamite. He lands beside him and Deku says that he doesn't know, but he feels a bit recharged for some reason. Shigaraki rolls along the floor and throws up blood as he gags while trying to regain focus, but his body just can't. You heroes, always the same thing with sacrifice. You even hurt your own families. Endeavor, Dynamite, Gran Torino, Deku, Manuel, Eraserhead gather and corner the villain, whose injuries start to show in the form of literal cracks across his body. And that last punch from Deku especially, it ripped through his entire body. Gather all the power you want. With such hollow ideals, says Endeavor, your destruction will never reach us. Oh, you want ideals? I have a few ideas in mind. I don't have to explain myself to any of you. My ideals are unimportant. It's not like you'll understand. That's what makes us heroes and villains. Right as he says this, a wave of flames envelops him, but he moves with a leap in an instant, now wearing a massive grin and no longer thinking rationally. When he tries to attack Endeavor though, Deku moves in with a lightning quick speed and knees him in the stomach when he himself is then punched in the jaw. With his back foot, he stops himself and punches again but collides with Shigaraki's fist, and concussive wave of air erupts, pushing each of them back. Come, little brother. You and me are in no way related. He moves in with an elbow but stops, then goes into a sweep kick. As he trips and begins to make Shigaraki fall with that attack, Deku then strikes him with the same lightning as before in the form of a kick into his stomach, and he sinks into his own shadow, which slings forward, spitting him back out behind Shigaraki before kicking him into the ribs, into the sky, to be smacked down by Ryukyu. However, while he was being struck, Shigaraki with a massive smile flicks a deleter round into Aizawa's leg. Everyone freezes, barely noticing it just as Aizawa himself grabs a dagger and slices his leg off with no hesitation. That's crazy, by the way. What the fuck? How did he do that? That dagger did not look that big. I'm gonna stop. Regardless, I mean, Shigaraki is honestly impressed. You really are cool as hell, Eraserhead. But even you're bound to flinch. Before he hits the floor, he propels himself towards Aizawa, whose face is grabbed and begins to be clawed by him, and yet the hero keeps his eyes glaring at him, not wanting to give him even a second. Sensei! A blast of ice strikes Shigaraki's stomach and sends him flying, and he's then met by a kick from Izuku into his back, who stops his advance and then shouts, Smash! Gah! The moment Shigaraki bounces up from being hit to the floor, he's grabbed and thrown to the sky as Deku would leap towards him. This is the first time that any of them saw it. There was no reason or control in Midoriya's eyes, only fury. The moment the villain regains some balance, he quickly catches his punch, but that's not what stunned him. It would be the words that came out of his mouth next. I'm gonna fucking eviscerate you! No! He chops a feint for his ribs, which Shigaraki reacts to when his head is then grabbed and he's kneed so hard in the face, his teeth and nose crack. Then Midoriya elbows him in the head again and again before pushing him back and cocking his fist, but he notices Shigaraki already healing. Only this much damage? Not enough juice, just like last time, huh? I could say the same about you. Suddenly, Shigaraki's shoulder and flesh quite literally tear, and this scar runs across his entire torso. What date is it today? I forget. The day you die. This is when Deku goes on full assault, while those down below have been beaten down far too much to help. Dynamite is exhausted. A lot of cluster moves have been used to even keep up with Shigaraki, and his bones are pretty messed up. Gran Torino, like all of them, especially Aizawa, who has a frozen stump right now due to Todoroki helping out. They just can't do anything. Deku can heal it when he regains his full strength, says Aizawa. If he lives, thinks Dynamite. Endeavor is ashamed right now. He should be the one up there. Gran Torino most of all feels as though he's letting down another successor, but he sustained too much damage to even get in there. Todoroki then comes up with an idea to take Bakugo and Endeavor up there. Bakugo can calm him down, and Endeavor can use the last of his power to end all this. Meanwhile, Deku just keeps trading blows, and with the last two black flashes, he can already unleash the power of a black whip now to keep Shigaraki at bay while bringing him back and forth and just hitting him over and over. After another punch is thrown, which pushes back Shigaraki, Endeavor grabs him from behind, and his appearance would stunt Deku's rage right as Dynamite tackles him out of the situation. No, thanks Deku. He detonates his entire body with fire and sears Shigaraki from the inside, but just as he begins to char him, he's skewered through the stomach, stopping his ever-heating flames. He slides off of the tendrils and begins to fall, now bleeding out, while wondering just how in the world Shigaraki is even conscious right now. but his destroyed body wouldn't stop the villain from burying his fangs at Deku still, and he fires those tendrils at him, readying and concentrating his energy into all parts of his body into defense. Deku prepares to tank the hit, but something he never expected occurs. Dynamite takes the brunt of the attack straight through his torso. At that moment, no other thoughts flooded his mind. Bakugo didn't know why he moved. The weapons protruding from Shigaraki is from the quirk rivet staff, for those who aren't aware. Forcefully, his body had used it as it was the only way he could currently fight. The rivets would then collapse, however, and Katsuki begins to fall. Stop trying to win this on your own. Kachan. Kachan! As he plummets, Todoroki luckily catches him. This battle only ended this way because of you, says Shigaraki. You spilled so much blood. Deku. This is back when Deku didn't have a quirk as of yet. He and Bakugo were running in the park, running and chasing each other in a nonsense game they could only, they couldn't even call it tag anymore. Honestly, they didn't know what they were doing. They didn't know what they were playing anymore. I guess that's the best part about being a kid. Ignorance. But we're not kids anymore, Deku thinks to himself. Midoriya, he'll be okay, shouts Todoroki. Deku didn't look like he had any more fight in him, and his head hangs in defeat as he begins to fall. Shigaraki's rivet stab lunges forward with 5 tendrils, and they strike, only to shatter on impact. The shock carries through all the tendrils, leaving Shigaraki confused, but when Deku's head rose, his eyes just lit with this passion and power, which couldn't be described, but surprisingly he said, "Thank you." The 10 Shadows technique possesses the most variety for a reason. Not only do you have the likes of Mahoraga and such, but different ways to always attack with your enemies, never knowing what to expect. So what happens when you were able to use reversal technique and apply it? The other heroes were preoccupied with Nomu still, so of course they wouldn't notice, but those in close proximity not only saw but felt it. Izuku Midoriya was back. With 2 black flashes having occurred and Katsuki's message, he attained a realization. But it's not that he needed to work with everyone, no. I need you. All of you. In his shrine, the Shikigami regained power, as do the previous users. And Shigaraki almost thought he was going insane because he saw multiple faces beside the child, and suddenly streams of blue energy erupt from his eyes and line down across his face, while his eyes they show no pupils at all. They're just completely filled with this energy. The rivet stab attack, which just struck by the way, had enough kinetic energy to be stolen by the power of Fajin, which is using reversal application. And now he was using the elephant. In a flash, he appeared behind Shigaraki, whose entire body is frozen inside out before Deku turns, holding his hands at his mouth. I'll be borrowing your move, Todoroki. Frost Calm. He throws a massive wave of frost, even though he was so delicate with his movement, which turns to icicles piercing through Shigaraki, and he begins to fall, as does Deku, who upon landing freezes the ground. But he loses his transformation and looks back, seeing Bakugo in Todoroki's arms. Quickly running to him, he summons Madoka Deer, who in a worry would apply reverse curse technique, while Deku partially turns his innards phaseable with his shadow manipulation, thus allowing any foreign object inside to slide out. Okay, sorry about that. Oh, shut up. Shit, that hurts. Madoka then flies off for Aizawa, who looks as stunned as the other heroes as she begins to heal him, because there's literally a flying reindeer around, just glowing like a fucking angel. That's weird. But she says, "Thank you for holding on. Izu's fine now." "Clearly," says Gran Torino. "Hopefully the same won't go for him." He refers to Shigaraki, who is just barely holding on to life. Seriously, the abuse this man suffered, how are you living? Is your hate that strong? God damn. Okay, I'm gonna stop. And honestly, he's still using his rivet stabs to just stand right now. But he's not only holding up his body because he has to. I mean, no, he has to. No, he has to. He has no other choice. This nigga's broken. All right, I'm not gonna give him no more leeway. The abuse he has suffered, his body is done. But honestly, his ingenuity with the quirk has left All For One himself impressed. With Shigaraki having come so close to Deku, his influence began to reign in the student's head. And Shigaraki didn't like this, honestly. Because, well, this isn't his battle. Oh, shut up about this and that. This is my battle, master. I assume One For All keeps whispering in your head. Shigaraki looks forward to seeing Deku. The look in his eyes changed, back to being the calm, composed hero that he cannot stand. The ground rumbles just then, making him stumble, and the heroes look back, seeing Nenjire Hado. He's here! Master! Rampaging through what remains of Jaku, Gigantomachia arrives with his steps on the scene, causing what felt like earthquakes. Having gone into a transformation of sorts, he resembles a monstrous mole more than anything else, and carries with him Shigaraki's team. Dabi, Toga, Mr. Compressed, Spinner. That's him? Thinks Toga? Toga saw Deku before, but this is the first time she's seen him so bloody. He's supposed to be her enemy, but her heart felt different. The heart is a different matter, you know what I'm saying? Seriously, this bitch is insane. Why do you like people being covered in blood? I know your whole character arc is that like you love a different way, but damn. Okay. Let's get back to it. Central Hospital. Rei Todoroki's room. Toya. On her screen, actually, as a matter of fact, many and damn near every screen in Japan was hijacked by a frequency broadcasting a message. A message retaining the hate Toya Todoroki holds towards his father as he denounces him globally. These murders are my fault. And they're the fault of Endeavor's flame. My father's always been obsessive, selfish. To him, I was just a failed creation. We return to Jaku City, where Endeavor and Todoroki are finally told that Dabi is Toya. He washed his hair clean of the black and revealed his white hair. Hey, you have a great name, so you better use it. They're struck with silence, most of all Endeavor. Dabi is still on Gigantomachia's back, and honestly, he's safe right now, so he's gloating, and he just dances and makes fun of them as the giant would then hold his master in his hands and then bring him to the back of his back. It's really weird. You know what I'm talking about. And honestly, again, Dabi's loving this. Come tangle with your son in hell, Enji Todoroki. Your past ain't dead yet. The past never dies. The battle halted at this room. It was just an immense reveal, I'm not gonna lie. Endeavor was beginning to lose his sanity, the will to fight. He couldn't even believe it. Toya is dead. Take back that despicable lie. Oh, come on, I'm clearly alive. While he rambled, Shigaraki was put on Gigantomachia's back to be looked after. Even the villains didn't know about this, about Dabi, but more urgently, they needed Shigaraki to move, to say something, but he was currently too weak. You want me to do a DNA test? Because I will. Nothing will change the fact that this is what you made me into. Todoroki says, no, we can talk about this. Toya, let's talk about this. Shut the hell up. Leaping from Gigantomachia's back, he kindles a flame with great prominence as it would keep burning hotter and hotter. Father, he's coming. Father, you have to move. This isn't the time. Come on, we have to move. It's okay. I feel like this guy forgot I'm here, says Deku. You're getting too arrogant. Beside him rises Max Elephant, whose trunk fires a massive stream of water, piercing through and dissipating the flames while also slamming into Gigantomachia, who falls over surprised. Along with this, fibers would drop from the sky, holding these restraints that grab a hold of the giant. And this is currently Best Genius in a helicopter, who says, apologies for my tardiness. No, you came just in time, Deku shouts. Let me help. Wells unknown abyss. Surrounding the massive beast from all sides, toads rise and fire from their mouths chains made from the black whipcord that reinforce the man-made prison. Or I should say giant-made prison. Same thing. With a tighten of his grip, Best Genius tightens his hold on them. And Dabi says, you're supposed to be dead. The hero responds, "Says who?" Right then, Dabi would begin to burn and free himself and notices Nejire Hado, because they were also bound by the way, going for Shigaraki with the blast of her own, and he shoots an attack her way. A wall of ice is then risen, however, but not by Todoroki, but by Izuku. However, the abrupt situation messed with Nejire's flow and she began to fall. She can't fly anymore and is caught. When she looks up, it's Deku, but he had the look of a beast, a tiger, literally. "But you're over. How are... There are two of you?" She clearly sees another Deku up ahead, still holding Gantomakia, and then notices the other, who has taken an ice form and is now engaging in battle with Todoroki against Toya. No matter how hard she's trying right now, it's fucking crazy. Like, this is weird. But Todoroki is still trying to get through to Toya, but however, it's not working at all. He just couldn't get through the bastard, and as if the timing couldn't be any worse, Gigantomachia surges with power as Shigaraki finally manages to get a few words out. We meanwhile would go to the other heroes who were still fighting the Nomus. Out of all the things they saw today, a magical flying reindeer that heals them is not what they expected. But more than that, its very presence seemed to weaken the quirks, and more specifically the regeneration of the Nomus. Mahoraga would then take her last flight over them and notices a spike in energy. Oh dang, he's here. As Gigantomachia breaks free, he's not simply left to the heroes to restrain, because, well, they have to step back now. In all his glory, the divine general, now gigantic, grabs a hold of his face and lifts him into the air with one arm. Let go, my master wills it. His massive claws strike and tear into Mahoraga, but he just begins to chuckle as his wheel turns and he heals instantly. What the fuck is that thing? No, more importantly, is it on our side? Like, is it an enemy? Please tell me it's not an enemy. That thing is huge. The main Deku remarks that is Mahoraga. If anyone can beat that monster with one foul swoop, it's him. Throwing him into the air, from his arm wrappings, blades would erupt as he stabs them into his chest and stomach, and the blood would cascade down upon the heroes, some of which manage to avoid it, some of which don't. Mahoraga then pulls out his blades and kicks him away, like really far. He then quickly regresses to his normal size, and he's still giant compared to them, but, you know, finally, I can go crazy for once, and there's my first meal. Nomus, having escaped from the other heroes, came to join the fray. Dabi has been defeated already, and the other villains were of no consequence, so Mahoraga could go wild. As he moves forward, each Nomu is torn through, having their heads taken off or having a hole in their chest the moment his sword made impact, before grabbing the last one and quite literally ripping it down the middle from grabbing its jaws. Hell yeah! The heroes are bewildered, looking at Deku, who says, "Yeah, this is why we usually don't let him come out, alright?" "What's that supposed to mean?" "You know what that means. But thank you." Suddenly, everyone found it hard to breathe. This feeling, some of them felt it in Kamino. When they faced All For One, his consciousness finally overrides Shigaraki's, and he stood with his body healing and speaking. But Mahoraga is Mahoraga. Hearing this little bastard talk was like listening to a fly. In a blink, he appeared before the villain, who loses his outstretched arm that he was using to like kind of gesture, and yet he doesn't scream or anything, only saying, "We'll meet again." From Shigaraki's mouth spews this black sludge, which swallows him whole. The same occurs to the entire vanguard of the Villain League, all except Gigantomachia, who was already dead. This day was wins and losses, falls and rising heroes. But many heroes fell, many of them who were beloved, lost either through death or retirement. It wasn't fair to say heroes lost everything today, however, because as a collective they won. No civilians were injured in the incident at Jaku thanks to Izuku Midoriya, but urban areas were flooded with crime in no time, and rumors began to spread. But the seeds were already sown for the hero society to crumble. Shinjuku, 2 days later. The hero Washu arrives on the scene late. He looks about aimlessly and finds a support item, and he goes to pick it up, looking sad when suddenly he's hit over the head. A little too late! As he turned, the hero saw injured civilians who barely survived the attacks of a gang. Well, where were you, huh? We barely... Shut up already. Walking past Washu, a young man enters the scene in an all-black suit with a hood he would take off his head. Hit him again like that and I'll leave you to rot. What's wrong with you? Some hero you are. Deku with a glare takes a step forward and suddenly they get scared. But he kneels to the man's friend who had been hurt, which is why he's so mad, and begins to heal him with a reverse curse technique. For once, without relying on Mahoraga, our boy has done it. Every time he used lapsed or whatever, like, you know, whenever he wanted to use a reverse of it, he was always using Mahoraga's power as a sort of gateway, but now he can do it at will. But this surprised the citizens. But far ahead, they saw others who had arrived. Everyone is trying their best to help. We're heroes, not gods, so shut up and let me help you. Your friend will be okay, but don't hurt Mr. Wash. He's been awake since yesterday. Realizing they were being far too cryptic, the group apologized, and Wash didn't take it to heart. As he helped disinfect some people's wounds, he got over it very quick. Honestly, everybody protect Wash. That's my nigga. Like, goddamn, that he's legit one of the best heroes in this entire story. Imagine being like assaulted like that for trying to help. I would crash out. I'm not doing that shit. Them niggas are dead. I'm joining the villains. Like, I'm gonna go homeland nerd. Stop. All right. So, hours later, at the UA dorms, we go to Izuku Midoriya's room. Keeping on his all-black costume, Midoriya laid on his bed, looking up at the ceiling. When he hears a knock, his door is opened by Ochako. She also wears all black, saying, "They're starting soon." With a nod, he gets up and walks out with her grabbing his hand. And he says to her, "We'll be okay, I promise." You know, I caught Toga during Jaku for a moment. What happened? She got away. She was crying. I read from her files. Her and Twice were close. He was a villain that Dabi killed. Hearing this surprises Ochako, who damn near breaks down. Luckily, Deku holds her head in his chest and comforts her. Together they go to the back of UA Academy where the entire student body face tombs. The tombs of some fallen heroes. Most important to Wane being Midnight. Most important to all of UA. It wasn't only heroes in training or pros present, but of course her own family and reporters who were allowed in, if only because moments like these matter. The moments everything went sideways is when we have to be able to get back up. Represent that we're not doing well, but we're managing. But the moment everything went sideways, the heroes were able to recover because they had an immensely convenient ability at their side. Izuku's reverse curse technique, which was used to heal everyone, including Aizawa, Endeavor, Miruko. She doesn't have to have a mechanical limb anymore. And he worked hard on Katsuki, promising himself to never lose control like that again, lest his friends get hurt because of it. After the service, the Todoroki siblings arrived to see Shoto, but they brought another person with them. Mom? Wane sees him run to talk to his family, and it reminded them that they needed to let their parents know about the shelters that they're gonna establish. It's time we squash this, Ray said. This curse that runs in our family. It started with your father, but that doesn't mean he's the only one responsible. I couldn't believe it when I saw him, says Natsu. He was so... Fuyumi says, he was broken. But he's still our little brother. Cutting back to Midoriya, he and Katsuki stand side to side, facing Midnight's grave. You ready for this, Kachan? Yeah. It's time to get back. The escape of Shigaraki and company also meant the release of damn near every inmate in Tartarus, the supermax prison for the creme de la creme villainous psychos. They are the reason villains have become so emboldened and threaten the streets of Japan. Whatever few heroes are left aren't enough. They have to up the ante. Midoriya. The boy looks back, seeing Hawks walking over with Best Genist. Good morning, Dynamite, says Bestinas. Not in civilian clothes, damn it. What's up? Well, first off, thank you so much for the wings. Pass a smooch to that glowing deer. But during your fight, we got reports back. Shigaraki kept going on and on, calling you little brother, apparently? What's that about? It's because I have something he wants. Call All Might to the lounge. We need to let the cat out of the bag. So they get All Might to go over and talk about One For All. And a few days later, once Enji was in a more right state of mind, with his family now trying to help him recover, he confessed his sins to the world, as did Hawks, who has a few skeletons in his own closet. But obviously, they weren't going to give up. As night fell, Deku gathered everyone in the main area of the dorm. 1A, 1B, all of the courses he could. It didn't matter. As long as they were part of 1A, they had to listen to this, especially if they were students. Thank you all so much for gathering. What's this about, Midoriya? Yeah, it's a little surprising and a little late. I want to give you all an explanation. Look around and see everyone here. This is the first time this year that we've gathered under the same banner for the same goal. We've all had our scuffles, okay? And right now we're being forced to do things no kids should have to do. So, I'm going to tell you something about me I've only shared with a few people. The reason this all began is because of One For All and All For One. All For One, I remember, but One For All, I mean, who are you referring to? It's my quirk. Well, it's complicated. Wait, what does that mean? It almost sounds like you're saying he was chasing you. He was. One For All was All Might's quirk. Years ago, he was injured fighting All For One, and he was messed up bad. He started throwing up blood all the time. He had to find a successor. Tetsu shouts, "So that's why your quirk is so bonkers." Yes. My power has been passed down through 9 users. I'm the 9th. I contain 7 different quirks. 7 because All Might was quirkless. If you gain One For All while possessing a quirk, it will slowly kill you. Ida says, "So the only reason you're still fine is because of Mahoraga, I presume." Someone from the business course asks if that's the huge white creature, and he nods, saying that it can adapt to any phenomenon, so it changed One For All's inner workings. Don't worry, All For One can't take One For All from me. Then who is this All For One guy? Asks Mina. Everyone gets up and holler about it, so Deku recounts the story here from All For One's little brother, the first user. Listening to the story was like diving into a horror story. All For One certainly wasn't born evil, but his growing environment definitely didn't help, and the fact that he's the second ever metahuman aside from his own mother is just a lot to take in. Why would you let us in? I mean, I'm glad you did, says Sarah, but because it's time to stop with all the bullshit, okay? Not once, not twice, but damn near 5 is the amount of panic attacks my mom has suffered. She tried to hide it. I know your parents went through something similar, but all that pain that we're burning right now, that we're holding in, isn't helping. If people want to quit, let them, but we're not. We're gonna be better. Who's with me? Everyone is quiet for a bit, but one by one, they begin to stand until they all are. I assume you have something in mind already, says Monoma. Of course, who the hell would do all this just for a speech? It's called Operation Restoration, and this is how it's gonna go. Time skip. 1 month. Young Midoriya. Come in, young Midoriya. Young Midoriya. Yes, sorry. Lunch break. Swinging through another abandoned city with his black whip attaching from building to building, he moves through the city, seeing other students from other academies who tell him that the coast is clear, and he reports back to Central Control, being headed by All Might and Tsukauchi. However, someone reports a distress call from one Shido who is in the area. Right as All Might tells Midoriya, he hears something and moves towards the scene. The escapee, Muscular, is currently trying to crush the student under the might of his muscles, but his attention turns to Deku the moment he lands beside them. A drone, meanwhile, will be catching all of this and broadcasting it to all of Japan. "Oh, it's you. Move, you're crushing him." With his next step, he disappears and his fist sinks into the man's chest as all his bulging muscles will be torn from his skin, throwing him towards a building, when he's then caught by Nue, who electrocutes him with enough volts to knock him out, not enough to kill him, which is a lot because Muscular is pretty tough. Deku then kneels to Shido and begins to heal him. Thanks, man. No problem. Don't you ever take some breaks though? Like, your face is always on the channel. What do you mean? I got 4 hours today and 2 coffees, black. Yeah, that's the problem, he thinks. And I'm gonna end it off there. I hope you guys enjoyed this one. Pretty long video, I know, but it wasn't meant to be this long. I guess it's just the way I talk and pace myself now, but I hope y'all enjoyed it regardless. Pretty fire episode, right? And I'll try to do another one soon as I can. And I'll do the Isagi video. I'm really sorry about that. It's just like, I made Isagi too talented, you feel me? Like, this man can just destroy everybody in the story easy. I don't know why I should even continue at that point. So I'll try to figure out a solution. And in the meantime, enjoy these back-to-back Boku no Hero what is. I'll see y'all later. Peace. I'm gone.
Hey kid, don't ever let them get inside your head. They'll tell you what to do in life instead of everything you know that you could get. Don't let them guide your life towards regret. I'll fight for what I love with every breath. My past is filled with things I won't forget.